Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's the reason I'll never adopt? I, 30 female, have 3 bio siblings, 37 male, 36 male, and 33 female, and an adoptive sister, 31 female. My sister, who I will call Becky's bio mom, is my mom's cousin. The story of Becky getting adopted by my parents was basically her bio parents were addicts that just came one day out of the blue for a visit, then abandoned her at our house. She was 5 weeks old. For a few weeks, they tried to get my cousin's family to take her, but those a-holes didn't want the shame of a baby with medical issues that was born out of wedlock. My parents fell in love with Becky, and the rest was history. Thankfully, all Becky really needed was love and a good home. She beat a lot of odds and leads a healthy, successful life. My parents never hid the fact Becky was adopted. She's biracial, and we all learned about her heritage growing up. Everything was perfect until her parents reached out when she was 22. They were clean and wanted a relationship. In the space of a few months, she became a different person. It was like she hated us for taking her away from her bio parents. And as soon as she finished college and got the 20,000 euro check my parents gifted her, it's a startup we all got. She ghosted us and sent a letter to my parents telling them that if they ever try to contact her again, she will file a restraining order. She got married, and none of us even knew. Her mother passed away when she was 26, which led her father to relapse that unfortunately died 8 months later. After that, Becky reached out. My parents welcomed her back with open arms, but I still can't. Which leads to now. Me and my husband recently had a baby via IVF after 6 years trying. 5 natural. I brought my son to meet the family tonight, and after dinner all of us girls were in the living room. I brought up how he was worth everything, explaining my struggles, and that I'm gonna start naturally trying soon so he will have a sibling. Becky made a comment about why we didn't look into adoption since the world was already overpopulated, and I told her, honestly, we thought about it, but after all the crap you pulled, I'm afraid you're the reason I will never adopt. Becky yelled at me to get over it already, then left. And my mother said I shouldn't have spoken to her like that, so in the end I ended up leaving early too. My siblings are on my side, but my parents are extremely mad. Now for the top comments. Not stay home, because if her bio parents were still alive, she wouldn't even be around y'all right now. Becky straight up acted like an adversary by threatening a restraining order. It's always sad to hear when adopted children raised in loving households choose their birth parents over the ones who raised them. Becky also asked a question she shouldn't have if she wasn't prepared to hear the answer. She knew she caused a great deal of pain and anger. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why Opie prefers not to adopt. I'm sure it was hard to hear. It's quite possible she struggled with being adopted, especially considering she's biracial. But she chose to turn her back on her family, cut them out of her life entirely. It only came back because she lost her birth family. So Becky's using her family as backups and is upset that Opie has a problem with that? Tough. Becky needs to own up to what she did, make amends, and get into therapy. Opie might find some benefit in therapy as well. Not stay home. I hate adopted kids that turn on their parents who love them and raise them as soon as they find out their real parents want a relationship. She deserves it, honestly. Bio parents. The real parents are the people who raised them. I was adopted, and my mom referred to the woman who gave birth to me as my genetic mother. I love that term, as it is so much better than birth or bio parents. Not stay home. Did she ever apologize at least for what she did? To my parents? I honestly don't know. I was so hurt and angry because we were extremely close growing up. And with everything going on in my own life, I went low contact for a few weeks while everything was going on. But she did apologize to me about not inviting me to her wedding when she was drunk for my brother's birthday. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my husband a bad father because he allows his adult daughter's birthday to overshadow Christmas every year? When I met my husband, James, he had a 14-year-old daughter, Ella. Ella and I never really bonded, as she doesn't really like people. James always told me to leave Ella alone and respect her boundaries. I do believe he took her boundaries too far in some cases, as Ella is now a 27-year-old woman who refuses to speak when she doesn't want to. I have a 13-year-old daughter, Ava. Their pregnancy was a surprise, and I know the timing is bad, that I got pregnant right around the time I met Ella. And honestly, I have always felt that James prefers Ella. Ella is a lot like him personality-wise, and it is very subtle. But I feel like he loves Ella more. Ella never accepted her sister or I, but I've made peace with that, because getting Ella to speak is literally like pulling teeth. Ava hates Ella, but she knows that she has to be civil to everyone. Ella's birthday is December 23rd, and as a result, James never made too big of a deal about Christmas. Her birthday always took priority. This became an issue when Ava was born. James had always promised Ella he would take her to Europe to her 16th birthday, and Ella was insistent it had to be on her actual birthday. So to Christmas when Ava was 2, he actually missed Christmas, and we had a first fight of our entire marriage. He also told Ella crazy things like if a man doesn't make a big deal out of her birthday, to dump his ass, and that her birthday is much more important than Christmas. As a result, Ava complains every year that James cares more about Ella's birthday than about Christmas, and that she thinks Ella gets an unfair amount of money spent on her. Her birthdays are usually expensive, and 2 years ago she had a December wedding which James fully paid for. Even that Christmas, he refused to not do something elaborate for her birthday, and couldn't understand why Ava was annoyed. Also, Ella hosts a huge Christmas Eve which we're all invited to, but Ava and I didn't go, due to it mostly being her husband's family, so everything in December sometimes feel it is about Ella. This year, I feel bad, because I couldn't get Ava what she really wanted because it is out of stock. But Ella just had a baby and my husband bought her a ring with a baby's birthstone, which Ava knows about. Now Ella wants to go to Colorado for her birthday/Christmas Eve. James said he is going to go, because he can drive back and be home by about 10. I finally got annoyed and asked if he thinks he spent a fair amount of money/time/energy in Ella versus Ava, and I said it makes every Christmas about Ella and her birthday. He said I was being unfair because Ella has never excluded me from her plans, though she's rude and doesn't talk to me either. Finally, I snapped at him that he is a bad father, because one of his kids is a grown woman and one is not. He is now upset and says that was mean to say, and I just don't like Ella and he tries his best. I'm seeing a lot here that actually supports your husband's side. You really just don't like Ella, and you resent the energy that it puts into celebrating her birthday. I'm not seeing where it necessarily has to take away from Ava. Does he also make a big deal for Ava's birthday? This is missing from the post. Your husband bought a ring to celebrate Ella's child. That's nice. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you couldn't get Ava what she wanted for Christmas because it was out of stock. Trying to force your husband to ignore or downplay his daughter's birthday because it's 2 days before Christmas, and you seem to want him to entirely focus on his daughter with you isn't a good look. It really doesn't seem like he's neglecting Ava here from what you've written. You're the a-hole, sorry. Honestly, I'm leaning towards this too. Especially since Opie has yet to answer a single question about what he does for Ava. Maybe because she wouldn't admit he goes above and beyond for her too, and drops everything else to make sure she has a magical birthday? In fact, Opie only tells us what he does for Ella for Christmas. I see nothing what he does for Ava, so I can't tell if she is getting the same Christmas treatment as Ella. Because treating Ella for her birthday is not the same as treating her for Christmas. The only way to judge this is to know how he handles birthdays for both girls, and Christmas for both girls. It sounds to me like he doesn't do a lot for Christmas for either of them. He spends a lot of money on Ava, but it isn't personal. He tells me to plan/buy everything because he doesn't know what she wants. I know a lot of men do that, but he managed to know everything about Ella. You are accusing him of favoring one child over another, but it's clear that you've never liked your stepdaughter. He has 2 children. I have 1. Ella would have lost her mind if I ever tried to pretend she was my daughter, so I respect her boundaries, but he has 2 actual biological children. FYI people, Opie hid in the comments that husband was a single father to Ella, due to what I can only assume to be an abusive bio-mom. Ella testified against her mother as a kid. It had to get a restraining order. No bloody wonder they're so close. He is her mom and dad. I don't even want to know what happened to her. She must have been traumatized. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my wife whenever she talks condescendingly about our son's work? So basically, my son is a professional aerial performer and is currently performing in this large and popular horror-themed circus where we live. I know I may be biased, but in my opinion, he's really good, and it's just amazing to watch him perform. Maybe a little scary sometimes, and sometimes I worry about him with some of the tricks and acts he does. My wife, however, will just tell people who works in the circus, never mentioning that he's an aerial performer, that he actually works independently and is basically a contractor, that he works with a very large and popular circus. Just that he works in the circus. Whenever we are out and she sees a clown, she will point at it and say, "Look, it's son's name." And it is very clear she looks down on him for what he does. She assumes he makes next to nothing and is poor. I know he's not. He doesn't make a crazy amount, but he makes enough to support himself well. This all came to a head when we were with some of her friends, and one of them asked if our son could entertain her kids at a birthday party, promising to pay him generously since he must be struggling. My wife laughed and responded with, "I'll see if it's free." I butted in saying, "You probably won't be able to since the birthday falls on a day when Popular Circus, which is where he works as a headline aerial act in, is fully booked because it's so close to the new year." Almost everyone there was shocked since all this info was new to them. My wife looked pissed and left. She sat in the car and texted me that she wants to leave. I stayed for about 20 minutes answering questions and showing them some videos. The woman who asked apologized, saying she was given the impression by my wife that our son was a struggling and failing cheap circus performer and wanted to help him. When I finally left and got in the car, my wife yelled at me, saying that I made her look like an idiot and a horrible mother in front of her friends. When we got home, she stormed out the car and locked herself in our bedroom crying loudly. She's been like this for almost an hour now, and I'm starting to feel awful and like an a-hole. I could have just left it alone. So am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. If telling the truth makes her look like a horrible mother, then she is one. Not the a-hole. You only told your friends your son's real occupation. Of course, it didn't align with her descriptions of him, because she deliberately deprecated his value and his profession. She talked about him contemptuously and denied his hard work and career achievements. When you reveal the truth, it exposed her as an incompatible parent at best, an abolitionist of his job and accomplishments at worst. Her friends must have been stunned when he told them the truth. It was foreseeable that she'll be upset. Who wouldn't be? She deals with the backlash of her actions now and is prone to face social repercussions and accompanying prejudices as well. But she caused it. For the record, there's nothing wrong with clowns or low-ladder circus workers as well. They're not deemed any less. She shouldn't have said those things, even if they were correct. Also, there's nothing wrong with entertaining kids at birthday parties. It's an equitable side gig and easy made money. I hope you understand it, because it genuinely reads as you depict these workers as such and you didn't bother to clarify otherwise. I'm so sorry if it came across like I thought that way. I absolutely agree. The circus wouldn't be complete without them. You didn't make her look like a terrible mother. She did that herself. I've been into music my whole life. Neither of my parents have ever supported me or stood up for me when someone made a stupid remark. Yes, who doesn't speak to them that often nowadays? Well, maybe she shouldn't act like a horrible mom, and general all-around a-hat. Not stay home. Not stay home. Your wife is really out of order. Seems like she has a big problem with her son not conforming to her standards of success, but her shaming and belittling him to others is disgusting. Aerial performers are amazing. It's a shame she's not proud of his skills or success. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my dad to pay me back money I gave him because he said I was only lucky in finding a job? I, 25 female, live with my parents and little brother, male 13. For backstory, I give my parents money monthly to help with rent plus bills. I often treat them all to nice restaurants when I get a bonus, and even buy groceries and snacks for everyone to use at home. I have never been very studious, and I barely managed a degree that I have no interest in. I did not enjoy the field and never looked for work in it. Instead, I wanted to explore my options and tried a bunch of different jobs, some that didn't always pay well. Even then, I still contributed to the house and managed my own expenses. I was always into video games and my parents had a problem with it since I can remember, saying that it's not a girly thing to do and it won't get me anywhere. Well, about a year ago, I got a job as a small copywriter for a video game-based page. It didn't pay well at first, but I worked very hard, got a promotion, and I'm now even in charge of sales and collaborations, where I make some decent money in commissions. The other day, my dad was talking to my brother, and I was passing by and overheard their conversation. My dad told him he must study hard and get a real profession, and not to be like me because I just got lucky in finding a job related to video games, and it's not real work. Here's where I might be the a-hole. A while ago, my parents needed some money in an emergency, so I gave it to them out of my savings. I even said it is okay, they don't need to pay it back. But after hearing my dad say I got to where I am because of luck, I walked up to him and said, "Remember the money I gave you guys? I'm going to need you to pay it back when you can. You see, who knows when my luck ran out, and I might need the money." My dad got mad and said I was an a-hole for being so petty over a small comment I made. when I know he doesn't have the money to pay me back. What do you think, guys? Am I the a-hole? Not an a-hole. Perhaps you should save the money you've been giving your parents and move out on your own. I live with them because they need help with the bills and stuff. I'm planning on moving out next year, though. If they don't respect the job you have and the money you make, it shouldn't be helping to pay their bills. I get wanting to help them, but if they're going to continue to bite the hand that feeds them, you'll only be reinforcing the behavior by staying. How is that your problem? I mean, what if your luck runs out and you wasted all that time and money helping your parents out when they don't even appreciate or respect you? Stop paying rent, save your money and move out. Your parents are the a-holes. I wish you could see the face I'm making right now. You have to help support them while they insult you? Make him pay you back. Not an a-hole. Whatever the amount was, take it out of your rent. There's another comment here to make sure you don't end up in a relationship where the person insults you while demanding you support them because you're used to it. And that's something you should be watchful over. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom if I wanted to watch kids, I'd have one after declining babysitting? My 25 female younger sister 21 female is pretty pregnant. For the last few weeks, she has been demanding that my significant other 27 male and I babysit her newborn every weekend, Friday morning to Sunday evening, so she and her significant other 21 male can have some cool off time from being parents to not overstress. Each time, I have laughed at her and shut it down with a quick, "Nope, I won't be." And she gets mad I'm not helping her out. Yesterday, she got our mother involved. Mom called me to ask why I was being a self-centered witch and so selfish because she didn't raise me this way. I told her I'm a grown woman with my own house and life, and that if I wanted to watch kids as a second job, I'd freaking have some. She sputtered out something about me being a horrible person and hung up on me. My significant other and my aunt 100% are with me. However, my mom, dad, and the other 900 family members and friends they got involved are calling me out on Facebook and blowing up my phone. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit, my relationship with the family has come up a few times now, so I'd like to point out, I don't generally have much to do with them. I talk to my mom maybe twice a month. My sister was a little more than that. I talk to my youngest sister, 16 female, my one aunt, and my grandparents regularly. But that's everyone. While I haven't cut anyone out, I simply do not engage or interact with anyone outside of the 3 hours on Christmas we are all together. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but your sister and her husband are. They are nuts to plan to part with a newborn for 60 hours straight every week. The fact that everyone else in your family sees this as okay is wild. You and your aunt are literally the only sane people in your family. I'd correct the sister. This is called joint custody, not babysitting. Not a a-hole. Divorced dads get less custody than this, and they definitely wouldn't get this much time with a newborn. Not a a-hole. And also, lol, what? So let me get this straight. Your sister and her significant other are having a baby, but they want every weekend off so they can go have fun while you watch their child. Every weekend? Yeah, sounds like they should have thought twice before getting her pregnant. This is not how that works. I had my son at 21, and guess what I did at most weekends? It's called being a parent. Ridiculous entitled nonsense is what I'd call your sister's behavior, and I absolutely fail to understand why your family is agreeing with her. If your parents think she should have every weekend off, they can watch the child. Oh yeah, my cousin has 3 kids, and guess what she doesn't have for the past 12 years? Right, a free weekend. Everyone is lucky if they have grandparents to watch the kids for an afternoon, but if you sign up for the little ones, then you know that some freedoms are gone for a while. Not a a-hole. What sane person expects someone else to take care of their child every weekend? Given the fact that mom immediately had her back on the idea, I'm going with someone who has probably gotten away with making various and reasonable demands a lot in the past 21 years. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for firing my sister after she threw out my son's pine cones? This happened over a week ago. I, 30 male, need to know if I was an a-hole or not. My son, 7, passed away from a heart condition he had. It'll be 2 years in July, and my world still hasn't been the same without him. Ever since he was 5, my son had an obsession with collecting pine cones. He loved them for some reason. Every trip to the park or hiking trail, he'd come home with a bag of pine cones picked out. I helped him preserve them so they would last way longer. It became a fun activity for us to do at home. His last Christmas, he gifted me a pine cone he painted himself, and it was the best gift ever. I kept all his pine cones stored away since he passed. Sometimes on bad days, I like to take them out and admire them. A couple months ago, my sister lost her job. She's a housekeeper, and my parents urged me to help her out by hiring her to clean my house. That wasn't an issue for me. The problem with my sister is everything needs to be cleaned her way, or she throws out things she deems aren't worth keeping. For instance, my late wife's old sketchbooks that she found in my garage, or my old guitar that I don't play as often as I used to, but still keep in good condition, my old wood carvings, etc. I've had to tell her that unless it's in the trash can, don't throw it out without checking in with me. I came home the other day and saw my storage closet nearly empty. One of the things missing were my son's pine cones. She wanted to surprise me, but I was so overwhelmed I told her to leave or I was going to scream at her. She texted me later to ask what she did wrong. She just saw that it needed to be tidied up and thought I wouldn't be too mad. I called to tell her she's fired for throwing out my son's pine cones because she knows how much she loved collecting them. Her defense was, they weren't really necessary to keep around when I have other things of my son's, like his toys and drawings. But this was specifically something that he loved so very much. Now it feels like a piece of him has been taken from me and I don't want her in my house again. My sister begged to keep this job because she was relying on this, and to give her another chance. But I couldn't bring myself to that. Everyone is mad at me for leaving her without a job. My mom is angry at my sister for what she did, and told her off for being insensitive. However, she feels that losing income shouldn't be a punishment for hurt feelings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was doing her job poorly. Imagine if she did this with other clients. She would lose her job then too. She can't just decide what's get thrown away or not. Also, she should have immediately apologized for what she threw away, instead of digging her heels in and trying to justify it. Sounds like she has thrown away a bunch of important things to you, but I'm surprised you let her stay on as your housekeeper this long. Oh, the things I mentioned she didn't actually throw out, like my late wife's stuff, but she insisted they should be because why would I want that when I don't use it? It was the fact she kept pushing it that made me order her not to throw anything out without my permission. I probably would have had the same reaction if she had thrown them out like she did with my son's pine cones. Yep, bearing an imminent danger like a pileup of human waste or extreme hoarder conditions, she doesn't get to decide for herself what to throw away, much less do so. She clearly knew how important the pine cones were to OP and didn't care about his wishes. She lost her job because of her actions, period. Wow, I can't imagine why she lost her first job as a housekeeper. You're not an a-hole. No housekeeper should be making decisions about personal belongings. It's even worse if she knew they had sentimental value to you. Not an a-hole. A housekeeper is not allowed to destroy possessions of the homeowner, unless they specifically ask her to. She was probably fired from prior jobs for the same shenanigans, and her lack of income is her problem, not yours. Not an a-hole. And if this is how she acts, I'm surprised she ever had a housekeeping job to lose in the first place. It's not even like she thought you would want them to be thrown out. She knew what they meant to you and your son. She had no right. I'd never let her back in my house, let alone on my payroll. Also, she feels that losing income shouldn't be punished by hurt feelings? The absolute audacity. Hurt feelings? How about losing income over destruction of property? You know, the crime she committed? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my brother and his wife watch our 4-month-old daughter without asking my wife? My wife and I have a 4-month-old baby girl. So far, only one person has allowed to watch the baby, wife's best friend. Her best friend is a good caregiver, and she's a mom herself, but she's not like super nanny or anything. Just a normal person. My brother and his wife have been begging to watch the baby for us, but my wife always says no. My brother's wife is a certified newborn care specialist and lactation consultant. Not saying she's any better or worse than wife's best friend, but I think it's safe to say she'd do a great job of taking care of our baby girl. Yesterday, my wife was at work and I needed to take my car up to the shop for an oil change and inspection. It had to be done today as my guy won't be in the shop again until after the 4th, so my inspection would expire by then. I didn't think it'd be fun for my little one to sit in a stinky gas station auto shop for a few hours, so I dropped her off with my brother and his wife. Well, now I'm in the doghouse. 1, for not asking her first, and 2, for letting someone else watch the baby who isn't wife's best friend. I didn't ask because I didn't think it was necessary. I knew 100% that our baby would be well cared for. I was within 10-minute drive, and both my brother and his wife have cars with a car seat. They had all the supplies they needed. My wife's job is also within 10 minutes of their house. My wife is upset because she doesn't want a bunch of people watching our baby, which I get, but it was just my brother and his wife. I don't plan on sending her to Grandma next weekend, Aunt Edna the next, and Cousin Jimmy the week after that. Just one day with her aunt and uncle, 4 hours total. She thinks we need a consistent person to watch her best friend. Now for the comments. Not Dayhal. I'm guessing this is your first child, and your wife sounds like she's a little over anxious about the baby, which is totally normal, but just because her feelings are normal, that doesn't mean she's in the right. Unfortunately though, as you both navigate parenthood, you are going to have to find a balance because if you continue down a path of whatever she says goes, you will likely end up resenting her, and it can do damage to you, your marriage, and how you are as a parent. Baby steps. Apologize for not telling her ahead of time, but tell her that it's not okay for her to make these decisions unilaterally. Fight about it, then find a compromise. Hijacking top comment to suggest that maybe postpartum anxiety is playing a part in his wife's decision. It's real, and can really affect new moms in a harsh way. Thank you. I was about to say the same. My postpartum anxiety and depression spiraled so far out of control and mixed with my regular poor mental health. I diagnosed depression and anxiety even before that. And basically, it became so much worse than it should have been. I'm now barely able to leave the house without feeling physically sick to my stomach from panic, and my kid is 6.5 now. Opie, please make sure your wife is okay. That drop in hormones from pregnancy and birth, mixed with everything else, is absolute hell on a number of new mothers. I'm not saying that what happened to me could happen to your wife, but please make sure it's not PPA or PPD, because it's so hard. Not Dayhal. You left your child with trusted family. She's 4 months old, not 4 weeks. I suspect she's probably in her routine and was just fine spending time with uncle and aunt. My brother's wife is certified newborn care specialist and lactation consultant. That sounds more qualified than your wife's friend as someone to watch the child for a brief period. You need to talk to your wife and figure out why she's so weird about this. The only reason I think he's the a-hole is because he did it knowing full well how his wife felt about it. Everyone sucks here. You went behind your wife's back, which is wrong. But your wife needs to understand that you may need additional people who can babysit if necessary. Just one person, her BFF, isn't enough. I don't think it was so much behind her back, as I made an executive decision because she was at work. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for including my ex's daughter in my life? Sleepovers, vacation, etc. Sorry if any of this gets confusing. I have a 5-year-old daughter, Annie, with my ex. My ex also has an 8-year-old daughter, Elsie. Ex and I broke up when Annie was a little under 2 years old. It was really hard getting her for overnights because she has never been away from her home/mom overnight. We realized that she did much better if her older sister was there, so she started coming too. Annie has no issue staying the night by herself now, but since I had to kind of keep playing stepdad after Rex and I broke up, Elsie and I do have a bond of some sort. She will come stay the night most of the time, unless she has other plans, or her mom requests she stays home for some reason. My girlfriend and I are trying to plan a little last-minute vacation for August. We are going somewhere very family-friendly, so I said we should ask if Elsie wants to join. Elsie has been on vacations with just Annie and I before. Girlfriend let out a big sigh when I said this. I was confused, because up until this point, she's never expressed any issues with Elsie being around. We got to talking, and she basically asked, when will this end? When Elsie is a teenager? When she graduates high school? When she gets married? Never? I didn't know what to say because Elsie and Annie will always be sisters. So yeah, it'll probably never end. Elsie is a good kid and Annie adores her, so I have had zero hesitations about ever inviting her along to hang out with us. Plus, I do feel bad for Elsie. X is a good mom doll, but she can't really afford much outside of basic necessities and the occasional treat. There are lots of things Elsie gets to do with us that her mom could simply not afford. And I feel like I sort of owe it to Elsie. The only reason she started coming over was to help comfort her sister, and she still is a big help with Annie. My girlfriend is not happy with this situation suddenly. She's apparently been holding out hope that things were just like this because of the pandemic. But it's very concerning and inappropriate to know that it's not the case. Am I the a-hole for still inviting Elsie to hang out with us even if she's not my kid and I have no legal obligation to her? Not the a-hole. You don't have an obligation to include Elsie, but it shows what a kind heart you have to do so. It would be very sad if you chose to cut her out completely just because your new girlfriend is jealous. Your girlfriend is showing you how immature she is on this issue. If you give in on this with her, next she's going to be going after your daughter too. You need to set her straight that this is how your life is with your daughter and her half-sibling. If girlfriend doesn't like it, she's welcome to leave. Yep, this feels like the beginning of a slippery slope. Elsie was also Opie's stepdaughter when he was with her mom/his ex. It's not like she's a younger half-sibling that Opie has no relationship with. I suspect girlfriend didn't realize how involved of a dad Opie is until recently, and is now reconsidering if she's signed up for all that. Yeah, I can understand if she decides it isn't for her and Bales, but you can't say this was unexpected when she dated someone with a former partner and a kid. Not a hole. First of all, I think it's great that you're including both sisters and treating them as they are. Sisters. You sound like a great dad to Annie and overall a nice dude. I think your girlfriend needs to understand that this is the deal. You come with a kid, and the kid comes with a sister. Both of them are part of your family now. She's not the one to decide who gets to be part of your life. She can either accept that Elsie is part of your family or move on. Please don't reject Elsie because of this. Not a hole. But one thing to think on is how long before the girlfriend starts saying the same thing about Annie. The latest I can imagine is when she has her own child with him. Exactly. It'll be, can we ever just do anything with just our family?